Okay, we are sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Nishmas Yaakov Zev ben Yud Aryeh, Rivka bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam bas Gad, Yosef ben Tzion ben Yaakov Zev, by Baruch Ian, Nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther bas Gittel, Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen, by Yaakov Yamansky, with Akras Tov to the Rav, the Zoom family, Nachas from children and grandchildren, A.B. Spry, Nachas from children and grandchildren, Salah from London, Joshua Rosenberg, a virtual Talmud. Also, my mother is going for tests tomorrow, but routine, but still have her in mind. Esther Fadel Baschana, everything should go easy and well, and we could have. I should get back to my full strength. My Ben Esther Fadel. We could already wish everybody a good Erev Shabbos, as we are at that wonderful time of the week. And we are holding on the very top of Daf Kuf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph, where the Gemara now tells us, Hahu Da'ave Kashochiv. Somebody passed away, so they asked him when he was dying, Amalei Itzisei Laman. Now this is a person who was childless, and they wanted to know if she's falling to Yibam, and therefore she can't marry anyone unless she gets chalitza. Amalahu, so he said to them, this is a figurative statement. Amalu chazya lekahana rabba. My wife is fit. He didn't say my wife. She is fit even to a kohen gadol. Now, of course, she won't be able to be fit to a kohen gadol. If he dies, she's an almana. An almana can't marry a kohen gadol. And since he's saying that she's fit, that means that he's saying that he divorced her, so that she doesn't fall a yibam, because she wasn't married to him when he died. But then she's not fit even to a regular kohen. So what this simply means is he was saying that she's fit for immediate marriage, because I divorced her. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, my necheshla. What's the question? Shouldn't he certainly be believed? Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Amar Rav Yochanan. Rav Chia bar Abba said in the name of Rav Yochanan, that Baal she'amar garashti es ishti, that a husband that said, I divorced my wife, Naaman is believed. So Amalei Abaye, so Abaye says, yeah, but we had a contradictory statement from Rabbi Yochanan. V'aki asa Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yosef Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Baal she'amar garashti es ishti, einay Naaman. He's not believed. So the Gemara says, well, we already explained that he's not believed retroactively, so that if his wife committed adultery, and he says, I divorced her before that, he's not believed. Because the reason why he's believed is because why would he lie? He could divorce her now. But that doesn't help retroactively. Amalei v'la miloi shaninu, didn't we answer the contradiction by saying kan l'mafreya? He's not believed for retroactive status, but kan l'aba, but he is believed from now on. Says the Gemara, yeah, but the question is, excuse me, the query is, Vashnuye nekem v'lismaik, do we rely on that answer? Amalei Rav Nasan bar Ami, you're right. Chushla, you have to be concerned about the divergent reports of Rabbi Yochanan, and therefore you just can't take his say-so that he divorced her, but rather you should research the subject. Now, the next case. Here, in this case, there's a chazaka that Chatzkel doesn't have any brothers. He doesn't have any brothers, so that his wife would be free to marry right away. V'amar b'shas misa, and the husband says at the time he died, the lesle achi, that he doesn't have any brothers. So if we have a chazaka, he doesn't have any brothers, and the husband testifies that he doesn't have any brothers, so what's the problem? Amar Rav Yosef, ma'ilei chishla. Then what is even the question? It's a presumptive status that he doesn't have any brothers. the Leslie Achin. V'oid, and furthermore, Amar b'shas Misa the Leslie. He said at the time of his death. Here's the problem. You're right. If there's a chazaka that he doesn't have brothers, and he says he doesn't have any brothers, normally it's a no-brainer. However, what complicates the issue is that Amalei Abaya, Amrei, people say the Ike Edim Medina Sayam. There are witnesses in Australia. The Yodei de Islayachi. They knew him when the family a long time ago, and they knew that there is brothers. So the Gemara says, well, yeah, but a rumor that there's witnesses. Hashtamias Holesna, come on. Right now they're not here. Because there's a related issue if there are captives. And the question is whether we say that they should be forbidden with a suspicion of that they were molested. And then they would be forbidden to a kayin. So, lav hainu d'Rab Chanina, even if there are rumors that there were witnesses that know that they were molested, the Amar Rav Chanina, Eidem Mitzad Istan, if there are rumors that there's witnesses up north, v'teyasar, because of that rumor, they should be forbidden. So the Gemara says, well, here's the shayla. Amalei Abaye im hikalnu b'shvuya. If we're lenient by a captive, there's a strong presumption that she wasn't molested, because to protect her honor, she dishevels herself and makes herself look unseemly. That's mishum demenavlo nafsha legabe shvoy. She makes her look herself repulsive by the captives. But nekel be'eshes ish should be lenient over here with a married woman and say that there is no brothers if there's rumors that there's witnesses that there are brothers. So Amalei Rav Nasim Ami Kushla, yes, you have to be concerned in such a case and do an investigation. Now the next part of the Mishnah seems to be very contradictory. What happens over here is that there's, let's say, 3 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. And all of a sudden, another guy pops up, Chaim. Reuven says, Chaim is also our brother. So the Mishnah says that when their father dies, when Yaakov dies, the other brothers don't have to share with Chaim because they say we don't know of him. But Reuven, who says he's a brother, Reuven has to divide his portion with Chaim. Yet, the Mishnah then goes to say, if Chaim dies, so you would think that Shimon and Levi shouldn't get anything from him, because we said they don't have to give up their Yerusha to him. So if Chaim dies, we should think that only Reuven should inherit. Says the Gemara, but the Mishnah says that if Chaim dies, Shimon and Levi also get to inherit him. So the Gemara says, well, that's strange, that's contradictory. So we got to hear, what does Shimon and Levi say about Chaim? V'idach ma'ika amrei. What does Shimon and Levi say about Chaim? Ika amrei achunahu. If they say, yeah, he's our brother, so why don't they have to share the Yerusha for their father with him? Why does only Reuven have to divide V'sulai? If they admit that he's a brother, then they should have to share their Yerusha also with Chaim. It must be that their position is he's not our brother. Oh, that doesn't work either. If he's not our brother, then Ema Seifa, Naflo Nechasim Amakam Ha'archa, if Chaim inherits something, Yershu Achiv Imai. Shimon and Levi also get to share in that Yerusha. But if they say he's not our brother, why should they get to share in Yerusha? Imre lay lav achunahu. He's not our brother. If he's not our brother, then why should they get to share in Chaim's Yerusha? Says the Gemara, no, Shimon and Levi are a lot more coy about it. Shimon and Levi, they say we don't know. We don't know. So we don't know. They don't have to share the Yerusha, their Yerusha of the father with him, because they're the Murzik in the Yerusha, and without proof, Chaim obviously doesn't have any proof. They don't have to share the Yerusha. Like Tzricha de Kimrei Ein Anu Yoidin. We don't know. So we don't know. Then they're not saying he's not our brother. So therefore, when he dies, they admit to the possibility that he's the brother, so they get to inherit him as well. But if the father dies, since they say we don't know, then they don't have to share the Yerusha with him, because then a Murzik in the Yerusha, and Amoitz Mechaver Avaraya. So I'm a Rava. So Rava wants to make, all learning is about Mavin Dover Mitoich Dover, making applications. So I'm a Rava, Zois Oimeris. This proves that if I say to Rich, Monoli biyodcha, you owe me $100. And Rich says, I don't know. Right? So Potter, he's exempt, because he's the murzik in the money. Obviously, I don't have a star or anything. So even though I'm a bari and he's a shema, I can't take it away. That's what we're saying over here. That in the event that the Yerusha falls, the father dies, they don't have to give it up, even though Reuven is saying that he's our brother. They say, I don't know. So Chaim can't take it away from them. Abaya says, no, that's different. It could be that if I say, Rich, you owe me $100, and he says, I don't know, that's a case of Bari V'Shema, Bari Yadif, and he would have to pay. So then why is this different? V'shani hocha de kemana la'achar biyodecha dami. It's where I say that, Rich, you owe Berish money. If I say, Rich, you owe Berish money, then everybody agrees that, and Rich says, I don't know. Everybody agrees he doesn't have to pay Berish. Why? Because Berish is not making a claim. I'm making the claim, and Rich could say, La bal devarim didiyat. You're not my litigant, and therefore I don't even have to address what you're saying. The same thing over here. Reuven is saying that that Chaim, you have money by Shimon and Levi. They don't have to. Chaim has no proof. In that case, Shimon and Levi doesn't have to address Reuven's claim, because that's money la'achar biyodecha. That's money to somebody else, from somebody else. That we don't say. Now, in the event that Reuven said Chaim is a brother, so in such a case, we said that Shimon and Levi don't have to share their Yerusha with Chaim. Only Reuven has to share his Yerusha, and therefore Reuven gets one portion, and he has to give 50% to Chaim. If Chaim dies, if Chaim dies, so only Reuven takes the 50%, because he gave his portion 50%. If he dies, So it goes back to Ruvain. Meis, Yazu Nechasim L'Mekayman. Ruvain sectioned off 50%, gave it to Chaim. If Chaim dies, that 50% goes back. Now, remember we said if Chaim inherits something from someone else, all of them get to share it. So here the Gemara says a very interesting thing. Boy Rava, Shrak sheshipchu nechasim aleihem. If, let's say, Chaim was given 50%, and the 50% increased by itself. The palm tree got fatter. That, which happened later on, is that like inheriting something from somewhere else that Shimon and Levi also get a share in? So, Shvach sheshipchu nechasim me'alei ma'u. So the Gemara says, B'shvach ha'magir l'ksafim, if he gave him a field and it grew in it wheat and it already reached to the shoulders where we say, Kala oimed l'ksar kekatzer dami, whatever is ready to be harvested is considered like it's harvested. That wheat is considered not what he got from Reuven. That's like something that came from elsewhere, where Shimon and Levi get a portion in also. It's like Chaim inheriting something from somewhere else, and since Shimon and Levi said we don't know, they get a portion in. Where it wasn't grain that reached to the shoulders. If he got a palm tree and it grew fatter. Arava aska sirton, a land, and it became more fertile. It grew sediment and it became more fertile. Do Shimon and Levi get in that improvement a portion? Says Gemara, take to Tishbi Ataretz Kushas Vibayas. Now the next sugya of Shchiv Meirah starts a very technical and intricate sugya. Very, very technical. Remember that there is a special law that a man that makes a deathbed gift, even without a kinyan, it's considered binding. That's called divrei shchiv meirah kiksuvenu k'mesurin dami. But that's only if it's given as a deathbed command. If, however, the dying man wrote a will, and it was found to be attached to his thigh, the will is not binding. Because we say he wanted the will to take effect after his death. And there's no shtar la'achamisa, because he cannot give anything over after he dies. Immediately when he dies, it's possessed by the ocean. So let's see it inside. This is very, very tricky here. Misha Meis, let's say Chatzkel died, V'nimtzes daitiki kshura al yerechai, and we find a will tied to his thigh. Harizu eina klum. It's not worth anything. Because we say that he wanted it to take effect after his death, and that can take effect after his death. Zicha ba la'acher. But let's say he wrote a deathbed testament, a will. And even though in the will it says that he wants his possessions to go to Shelley, don't get excited. But then he gives the will to Shalom and says you should be zoiche in it what's written in the will. The din is it goes to Shalom. Zicha bala'achar, if he was mezake it to someone else, Bein min hayoshim, whether that person is a Yerush, ben she'ena min hayoshim, or if he's not a Yerush, makes no difference, because he could give a matana mechayim, dvarav kayamim. His words are upheld. So, first of all, what's the etymology of the word daitiki? Tana Rabbanan, Eizehi daitiki. What's daitiki? Kol sheba Pakasaba, daitiki is a abbreviation, an acronym of dot tehela mekim v'liyos. This should be to be upheld and go into effect. Ve'ezehi matana. What's a gift? Kol shekasaba me'ayoyim la'achar misa. Where he writes from today after he dies. So that's a gift. Because he wants it to be from today. That means the person gets the land now, but he can only use it after the person dies. Says the Gemara, it's only a gift if he says from today after he dies. Ma'achshav, if he says he's giving it from now, that's not it. That's surely good if he says he's giving it to him for now. Says Gemara, no. Amar Abaye Hachi Kamer. Ezel hi matnas bori. What's the gift of a healthy man? Shehi kematnas shchivmira. That's like the gift of a dying man, that the person only gets it when he dies. The loikoni elalachamisa. That's kol shekasav me'yoyim ulachamisa. If he writes from today after he dies, so that's like a deathbed utterance, where he only acquires it after the man dies. Now, Yosef Rabba bar Rav Huna, b'achsadra debei Rav. Rabba bar Rav Huna was sitting in the porch of the Academy of Rav, and I've told you that a lot of times the Gemara gives these geographical descriptions to strengthen the Messiah. In other words, we remember what happens clearly, and we remember not only the details, we remember where it was said. It was said when we were sitting in the academy, on the porch of the Academy of Debei Rav. Now, before I do this, I was very rude. I didn't mention welcome in the people, so we welcome in Saba, we welcome in Benzin Cohn, Menachem Umansky, Irving Fishbaum, Eddie Chazan, Shelley Zeitlin, Shimon Klein. We got a very clear picture of you tonight, Shimon. Very good. Shalom Fogel, Michael, Dr. Block, Reuven Pollack, Aaron Swade, Dr. Guy, Mo Kushner, Rabbi Kranz, Menachem Chapler, Yitzi Fuchs, Yisrael Fisher, Yitzi Muller, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Naftali Jablin, Eba Arbach, and Daniel Rosenberg, Ariel Rosenberg, Richard Rosenzweig, and here in the shul we have Berish Gesseman, Avram Zepkowitz, Chaim Kramer, Rich Lenner, Baruch Ian, and Ruvain Shannon. Nice crowd tonight. Nice crowd. With Michal Shavin it would be 9, and with Gedalia Engel it would be 10. We would have a minyan. Michal is, I think, in flight now. He was in Boca to visit his mother, as a 90-year-old mother. So anyway, Yosef Rabba bar Rav Huna b'achsadra debei Rav. Rabba bar Rav Huna was sitting on the porch of the Academy of Rav. The Yosef v'ka'amar mishnei de Rabbi Yochanan, and he was sitting and saying in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Shiv me Rasha Amar Kisvu utnu mana leploni. A dying man who said, write and deliver a mana to Chatzkel, Umeis. And he died before they wrote it. Says the Gemara, we don't do it. Ein kaisvin v'naisnin. We don't write it and deliver it. Why? Because maybe he had only in mind that it should work through a transfer of a shtar. Shema through the shtar. And you can't use the device of a shtar after he dies. Because ain't shtar lachamisa, ain't shtar lachamisa. Amalu Rebbe Lazar, so Rebbe Lazar said, Isdaruba. Be careful of this psak. Rav Shizbi Amar, no, that's not the way it went. Rebbe Lazar Amra. Rebbe Lazar said it. V'amalu Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan said, Isdaruba. Now, the latter makes more sense. Because Rebbe Lazar was a Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. So if Rebbe Lazar said it, so Rabbi Yochanan is ratifying it. But if Rabbi Yochanan said it, does a Talmud ratify his Rebbe's statement? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Lazar initiated the din. It struck Rabbi Yochanan l'asudei. That makes sense that Rabbi Yochanan says, that you should be careful in this. Is the Rabbi Lazar, because Rabbi Yochanan was the Rebbe. Eliyam Rabbi Yochanan Amra. If Rabbi Yochanan said it, it's struck Rabbi Lazar l'asudei alei to Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi. Does Rabbi Lazar say, is it proper to say you should be careful with this? He's giving his Rebbe a stamp of approval. And furthermore, Tajma, the Rabbi Lazar Amra, Rabbi Lazar said, furthermore, it's Rabbi Lazar that initiated this dictum, the Rabbi Lazar Amra. The Shalach Rabin Mishmei Rabbi Avo, Rabin sent in the name of Rabbi Avo, have a Yodim, you should know, Sheshalach Rabbi Lazar L'Geila. Rabbi Lazar sent the following message to the diaspora, Mishum Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu here is Rav. Sometimes Rabbeinu is Rebbe, and sometimes Rabbeinu is Rav. In this context, it's Rav. Shkiv me Rasha Amar Kisvu Tunu Mana Leplaini. A dying man that says, write and give 100 to so-and-so. Umeis, and he died before they got a chance to write it. Ein Kaistvim V'Noisnem. We don't write it and deliver it, because Shemal Gamal Aknaisai El Bishtar. He only had in mind to convey it with the shtar. Ve'ein shtar la'achamisa. Now the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Tibodek. Rabbi Yochanan says you got to make an examination. So the Gemara says, my Tibodek. What did he mean that you got to make an examination? He says, make an examination if in the words of the dying man there was any indication that the shtar is just for a record.